Good afternoon again, students. So here we're going to look at the second portion of the lesson, and the second portion of the lesson is pretty much transformation. All right, so transformation of a function f of x. So here, as you can see here, right, we have a function. We have a function f of x plus c. Here, like you see, f of x plus c. Right, what is the transformation that is happening here? Well, this is telling me that the function shifts what? C units up. Why? Because it's plus C. So it shifts up. All right. Now we have a translation here of this function, or f of x minus C. It's saying shifts C units down. Why? Because it's negative. So it shifts down. All right. Now we have the translation f of x plus c. Now this is saying that we shift c units to the left. Why is it that we shift c units to the left? Because if you set the inside portion x plus c equals to 0, this is going to give us x is equals to a negative c. So that's why we shift to the left. And the same thing here, if you have a function f of x minus c, all right, if we set the inside portion again, x minus c equals to 0, it's going to give us positive c. So that's the reason why we shift to the right. And the reflection here, if you have f of negative x, you reflect over the y-axis. Again, you reflect over the y-axis. So you flick over the y-axis here at this point here. And if you have negative f of x, right, you just reflect over the x-axis. All right. Also here, if we have a f of x, all right, a times f of x, what this means is that if a, which is this portion, is greater than 1, then we have a vertical stretch. If we have a f of x, right, the same thing as above, but if x falls between 0 and 1, right, we have a shrink vertically. It is shrink vertically. Similarly, the transformation of f of x, if we have a f of ax, right, if a is greater than 1, then we have a shrink horizontally. And if we have f of ax and a falls within this parameter here, right, we have a stretch what? Horizontally. All right, so let's go ahead and look at a few examples, and actually we'll see actually what we're talking about. But before we do this, right, using this graph here, what we're going to do is we're going to fill in the blanks here. So I have a function x squared plus 2. We know that this is a translation, all right, translation. So here, if this is f of x, right, what's happening here? All right, we have a shift, what? Shift 2 units, what? So we're going to shift 2 units. Are we going to shift up or down? Since it's positive, we're going to go what? Up. Here, we're going to shift what? 2 units down. And why? You do not write negative 2, you just write shift 2 units down. The down tells you that it's negative. All right, here we're going to do what? We're going to shift 3 units. Where? Are we shifting to the right or the left? We're not going to shift to the right because this is positive. If you set this equal, so it's going to be negative 3. So therefore, we're going to go to what? To your left. All right, here as well, because if you set this equals to 0, it's going to give you positive. So you're going to also shift 3 units to your right. All right, good job thus far. All right, so these two are the easy ones. Remember, if you have an f of negative x, what happens is just going to reflect over what? Your y-axis. All right, when here, if you have negative f of x, you're just going to reflect over your what? Your x-axis. All right, so now let's go ahead and look at a few examples. All right, what is it going to look like in your homework assignment? All right, so here, for the function, it says that what does the transformation f of x to f of x plus 7 do to the graph? What does this do to the graph? We know that this tells me that we're going to have a shift. We're going to shift what? 7 units what? Up, because it's positive. All right, it's positive, so we're going to shift 7 units up. Now let's look at the second one. What transformation is happening here? It goes from f of x to f of x minus 8. So we know this is a shift of 8 units. Where are we shifting? It's negative, so it's going to shift what? Down. All right. Good job, good job. We're doing good. So now, let's look at what happened here. We go from, so here we're going from, sorry about that. So here we're going from f of x to f of x minus 10 plus 2. All right, so we're going to shift. How are we going to shift? We're going to shift. We know we're going to shift up. So we're going to shift 2. Well, let's do the middle part first. We're going to shift 10 units to the, remember this is negative, so we're going to go right, right? So we're going to go 10 units to the right and 2 units up. Oops, I'm going over in that part. 2 units up. All right. Yeah, so let's look at this other one now. Since this is x plus 2, what are we going to do? We're going to shift 6 units to the left. Because remember, if you set this equals to 0, you're going to get negative 6. And 3 units down. Good job, good job. Let's look at this second one here. That's now the transformation function. So we're going to shift what? We're going to shift 4 units to the left. That was an easy one. All right, so now let's look at this one. All right, what's happening here? It goes from f of x to f of negative x. We know this, so once this happened, we know the graph, what happened. It's reflected, or it's a reflection over what? It's a reflection over the y-axis. All right, it's a reflection over y-axis. All right, so let's look at the last two. First, let's look at this one. What does the transformation f of x goes to f of 1 over 7x do? All right, so remember this one here. Remember this one. This is one of those special cases where a falls between 0 and 1. So if a falls between 0 and 1, we have it is being stretched, stretch, horizontally. It's being stretched horizontally like this. All right, because this 1/7 is falls between 0 and 1. All right, and let's look at the last one. So here we have 4f of x. 4f of x. So here a, this is a here, it's greater than 1. So since a is greater than 1, we know that this it's stretched vertically. All right, we know that it is stretched vertically. So that is it. So go ahead and complete your iExcels, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me, and myself and Mr. Delisante will be very happy to help you. All right, have a great day.